Gosh, who was Leonardo da Vinci? You could answer that question 20 different ways at least.
Il genio proprio a 360 gradi del mondo.
A man with a long beard, working on his lab.
He was one of the most relentlessly curious men who ever lived.
The greatest artist of all time.
Once you start knowing him, things get much more complicated.
There's so many things to so many people.
I was very surprised knowing the scientist he was and the philosopher and the incredible artist of drawings.
Leonardo da Vinci era tanti uomini in un solo uomo.
An astronomer.
Un musicista anche, un architetto, sapeva tutto, sapeva costruire le macchine da guerra.
Engineer, botanist, biologist, anatomist.
An observer, so much.
He was an extraordinary polymath. He was a chef, he was a composer. He wasn't just a painter or a designer.
He was always ahead of time. He was a genius. He was always in search of the right questions and the good answers.
Very clearly he fits into the category of genius for me.
Una complessità unica, forse mai esistita nella storia dell'umanità.
Even in an 8-hour show like this, we can only touch the surface of what Leonardo was and did.
He still is making waves hundreds of years later, and yet he left behind just 12 works of art. That's extraordinary.
And then, by reading the scripts and acting in the series, he became a man.
Leonardo is a real enigma. I think he was very much an outsider for his times. He was an illegitimate child, he was a gay man. And even if he wasn't necessarily struggling with his identity himself, he was certainly struggling with how best to present that more widely.
I don't think he'll ever fully get the real essence of who he was, but that's the great thing about him, you know? Unraveling the complexity of this man, you wouldn't do it in a lifetime.
I don't know who Leonardo da Vinci is. We're finding him because it's such a complex character. We ask ourselves that question every single day.
So for Steve Thompson and I, what we wanted to do was capture who Leonardo was as a man.
We had this immense problem that we could sit down and write 100 different shows.
From the first few pages, felt it with Frank's drafts. I thought, there's a real person here. This is interesting. This is something, I've never thought of him like that before. You think of Da Vinci and you think of the guy with the old beard and you think of the Mona Lisa and some of the great works, but you don't think of the person so much. And to see this person evolve and change in the opening sort of 10, 15, 20 pages of the first script, I'm thinking, this is a real person, it's a real man. And, you know, it's a human.
These scripts instantly grabbed me when I read them because it's a character-driven narrative. And it's so delicious to have, to deal with a story about a character's journey, in this case, to discover who they are themselves.
Raccontiamo la complessità dell'uomo. Lo vediamo bambino, abbandonato da suo padre. Lo vediamo giovane e trepidante alla ricerca del suo primo lavoro. Vediamo le sue paure, le sue incertezze, la sua grande capacità visionaria, la sua timidezza.
Leonardo is front and center of the script. We get to try and understand him as an outsider, I think, from the very beginning. I think he's very much a different representation of masculinity on screen that all of us should strive to understand and to watch and to put out there in today's world.
This is a love story, but without a sexual love affair. It's a platonic love affair between a man and a woman, but a gay man it's a celibate relationship. And that's a really powerful and different narrative.
One of the challenges you face is genius is a mystery, and you can never really explain where it comes from. But what we've tried to do is give you insight into what made him a genius.
What makes him really interesting as a character is genius is quite a lonely place to be. If you have a genius mind, you're locked inside a genius mind, that can make people very lonely. And so we started to explore the human relationships in his life as well.
To show you how moving his journey through life was and how much he sacrificed to achieve what he did.
But it's more than that. It's also the story of an artist and how they are challenged all the time to achieve what it is they're desperately trying to achieve.
We look at The Last Supper or the Mona Lisa, and we just take for granted that it's beautiful and that it's a masterpiece. But of course, it wasn't so obvious at the time. So we spent a lot of time in this show focusing on Leonardo as a man, but also trying to give the audience an understanding of what made him such a great artist.
In the 8 episodes, every one of the 8 episodes tells the story of one particular piece of art and the struggle to create it. So really, those are our 2 story arcs in a way.
Not just to show you art as if this were an art class or educational television, but to show you the human truth of this art and why it mattered to Leonardo and why it was a work of genius.
When I look into your eyes, I can see the pain in my own.
You know, one of the things that makes it different is the nature of the story as a biopic. It's not a typical costume drama. There's a slight blend of genres, if you like. You know, Frank Spotness and Steve Thompson, Gabby Asher, when in creating the show, have created a murder mystery at the heart of it. You know, it starts with the murder of a woman. Leonardo is arrested and accused of her murder.
So Steve and I began to imagine who she may have really been. And we don't know, because it's lost to history. It's a blank that we had to fill in.
And all of the great biographies say, this is what we do know, but here are the questions which are unanswered. And from our point of view, Frank and I, as dramatists, that's great because we can start to fill in the blanks. We can say, okay, this much we know to be true, but this much is just speculation. And at that point, fiction takes over and we can have some fun with it, I think.
And it's a beautiful framework to create a biopic. So it's a fictional event in a real life story.
But by filling in and imagining what their relationship was and why she was so important to Leonardo, it gave us a way to tell the emotional story of his life that wouldn't have existed otherwise. Leonardo was someone who found his salvation in art and in his own imagination, and he put that above other people, above life and love. And his journey in our series is about learning to put people, life and love above art.